We still don't know what proportion of remittances illegal immigrants send globally and specifically to Jamaica.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the states, the United States, is proposing a certain legislation to deny anyone who is an illegal immigrant from sending or remitting their money back to their mother country without proving. That is, if you are an illegal immigrant, you can't send your money back to your motherland. I've specially compiled a video of a certain doctor from Jamaica talking about this, and also we come back and share more or delve more into the same topic.
Remittances serve two purposes. They serve as, let's say, an income source for many Jamaican households. It's what put food on the table for many Jamaicans. So that's quite significant. And then at a macro level, it's also very important in terms of it helps the economy to pay for critical goods and services that are imported into the country. So any material fallout in remittances will have a sizable impact. But we should point out nonetheless that it's still very early days. We still do not know how this thing will play out. There are many things that we need to find out to really get a sense of what the impact will be. For example, we are not certain the amount of remittances that are sent by illegal immigrants. We need to ensure, we will need to see how other states, for example, adopt any kind of proposals or law to limit illegal migrants from sending remittances. Also, something that you have to consider as well is whether or not a black market will develop for sending remittances. For example, you can have legal citizens who will serve as somewhat, let's call them a broker, and they will and send the remittances and charge a fee from those persons who are not signed off to send remittances. Also, keep in mind that people could go to other states as well to send remittances. So way too early. And I think we need to point that out to the listeners that while your viewers, while remittances are fairly significant in terms of the overall impact on Jamaica at this time, it's still too early to say. If there were to be any kind of prolonged fallout in remittances, then NIR clearly will come under stress, and the government would have to have a significant policy response. The issue of immigration is quite significant in the US. A lot of robust measures are being put in place to curb illegal immigration, and therefore in some states you could see some movement towards curtailing remittances, because that's a significant outcome from immigration or persons going to the US. So, as I indicated before, in terms of the overall impact on Jamaica, it's a bit complicated because I do not believe all states will respond in the same way. You have states that are more, let's say, immigrant friendly, and I doubt will adopt the kind of robust measures that are being debated in Florida. So that could
Florida
serve
is a different kettle of fish for sure. What about implications on the remittance companies themselves, Dr. Stokes?
Well, again, they will see, to the extent that, and again, we have to remind viewers, to the extent that this thing is put into law and it happens, then they will see a reduction in the flows coming through their entities. Again, in terms of the impact, too early to say, because at this point, we still don't know what proportion of remittances illegal immigrants send globally and specifically to Jamaica.
So to the 28% of Jamaican households who receive remittances regularly, you would say, don't worry, yet?
Well, not yet, but obviously you can turn on your TV and you will see that the issue is real. A lot of effort to curb illegal immigration. And this is one of the areas that is certainly at risk. As I indicated before, I would doubt that you would see it become a somewhat, let's say, a national policy in the US. I think it will be state-driven. And to the extent that you have red states and blue states, and therefore some states that perhaps might be more accommodating to remittances, and not as robust as migration, then that could serve as some kind of ease. Notwithstanding, as a country and in terms of our individual circumstances, it's good to look at what we're doing and to enact buffers, if not policies, to minimize any kind of material fallout that could or may come from this issue.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for looking at the video. A lot of things are happening. It's never, and what is happening in the United States is never ending anytime soon. Donald Trump, since he got into power, he has been signing executive orders and other laws. Apart from the deportations of illegal immigrants, the ending of temporary protection status of some nations, such as Venezuela, to the withholding of funds to countries like Jamaica and some African countries. Now the United States, and in particular the state of Florida, is fronting a bill or a legislative to stop some of the Jamaicans who are there in the United States illegally, and not only Jamaicans, also other people from different parts of the world, from remitting money from Jamaica to the Jamaica from the United States. The bill is aimed at combating illegal immigration emanating from not only the Jamaicans but also other nations. For example, the African nations such as Kenya, Nigeria, etc. The nations from the Arab world, the Latinos, and etc. The law, if passed, will prohibit licensed money services businesses like, for example, Western Union, from initiating foreign remittances transfers unless they have verified that the sender isn't an illegal immigrant in the United States. You'll have to prove that you are a legal immigrant before your money is remitted to your motherland or IAD. Furthermore, the business providing money transfer services, for example, Western Union, are required to keep and preserve records of documentation and some penalties up to 5 years, and they will be submitting the same to the FSC from time to time. You know, most of the immigrants who migrate to the United States tend to engage in low-scale jobs so that they can remit part of their earnings at home. Yeah, it's not that easy to just come from like Africa or the Caribbean, that is Jamaica, etc., and just go straight to the United States and get high cadre jobs such as a doctor without getting into the system, being assimilated, like going back to class to be educated. So majority of the Jamaicans and our brothers and sisters from Africa, among other parts of the country, they tend to get into low-scale jobs. The economy of Jamaica depends heavily on these remittances, with billions of US dollars are being sent annually to Jamaica, surpassing $3 billion US dollars in recent years, even though the remittances have been declining recently due to some factors.
What I find interesting, Dr. Stokes, is that data up to October 24 from the BOJ shows remittances, shows inflows falling. I was surprised when I read this just now because we said 3 billion in, what was it, 2021, but there's been fall off since that time. What do you attribute that to, and how would that affect us? And now, within the context of that, these additional layers that may be added, what are the implications?
Right. So remittances ebb and flow. You would expect employment situation in the US to play a role to the extent that the labor market in the US is cooling quite significantly for over a year. So you would expect that to show or to reflect in remittances. The good thing that we need to outline for Jamaica is that we have the net international reserves, and that stood at $5.6 billion at the end of December. This is somewhat of, let's call it a piggy bank for Jamaica. FX, right? Which in the short term, if there were to be any adverse impact coming from laws passed in the US, then that the NIR could serve as a very useful buffer. So again, in the medium near term, there aren't significant risk at a macro level. Not to say that there won't be at the micro level in terms of individual households. Persons, will have to amend their circumstances. But again, way too early to say what the impact will be.
Of all the remittances, the inflows that come to Jamaica, the USA is the one that leads the pack with around 65 to 70% of the money is being sent from all these other places. 70% of it comes from the United States. Jamaica, the Jamaican diaspora, most of the Jamaican diaspora are in the United States, Canada, UK, and a few other European nations. So majority of all these remittances emanates or comes from the US. So the money sent from abroad to Jamaica, they tend to impact heavily both on the micro and macroeconomic level of Jamaica. That is the micro level, that is the households, and the personal levels. They tend to help people and also the government in the economic level of Jamaica. So if this legislation passes into law, which is likely to be passed, the Jamaicans and the Africans and other illegal immigrants will have it rough. In the videos, you can see they are saying maybe some brokers will start to emerge and start to offer the services of sending those who are there illegally can start being paid, and then they send the money on behalf of other people. But I don't know. And also maybe other states different from Florida will start emulating the bill and start effecting such kind of bills. It's going to be tough and rough. So guys, you can leave your comment section. You can leave your comments down the comments section of this video on what do you think about this whole situation. What's your take? What are other ways maybe these guys can use to, or the Jamaicans or fellow brothers from Africa can use to circumnavigate this whole situation? Thank you. This has been the video for today. Kindly subscribe to this channel.